Welcome to the middle of the African bush. What a way to start the pre-dawn sunrise safari. And we've got the Nkuhuma Pride, and we're following them live through the African bush on Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Good morning and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. And yet again, we're having an Nkuhuma sunrise, and wonderful to be with the lions and all the cubs. Lots of playing going on. It's always great to be with the lions in the early morning because they are going to be a lot more active. My name is Brent and I've got VM on camera. On the other vehicle we have Stef and Brian, or no, Stef and Dave actually, and then final control Louise and Kirsten. Oh look, we're being stalked. Hello. Look at this. This is just too special. FM orbs, just make way. Well, Ali, indeed, we have had lions everywhere. So, Ali, it has been incredible. Unfortunately, they've been making themselves quite vocal. So that's how we've been finding them. They've been roaring. Now, it doesn't look like they were successful in catching anything last night. Oh, serious little battle going on here. Can't get away, just keeps getting caught. Oh, and here comes the amorous male and the youngest Nkuhuma. Now, look, she just wants to greet the females, and this could cause a bit of havoc. See how that they try to keep away from him, and he's not letting that youngest female out of his sight. Can you hear that little, a deep growl from the male? Oh. Oof, oof. getting a bit upset, thinking that's a bit rough. Okay, wasn't that incredible? So what happened is the youngest lioness was getting a bit rough with one of the cubs. Mom stepped in, and the male was, of course, sticking with that youngest lioness because she's about to come into estrus, and then he just caused a bit of havoc there. So nothing too serious. The female, even though she was snarling, growling, she got on her back quite quickly, showed a submissive stance. Now, what it did let us know is where the second male was, because suddenly behind us, there's another male somewhere just off here. We could hear calling behind us. It's amazing, something like that just set off a bout of vocalization. Okay, it looks like they're going to get on the move. So we're going to move around and see where they go. And while we do that, let's go say good morning to Stef.
Isn't that amazing what you were having a look at the morning? Lions roaring straight at you. That's pretty epic. Well, it is a good morning from us. It's myself, Stef, and I've got Dave on camera today, and we are standing on quarantine listening to that ruckus that is happening where Brent is and you were just now, and we are waiting for the sun to rise. We've decided to only clutter our horizon with one tree this morning, as much as what we're trying not to. And we're waiting for the dawn to come. It started off when we left this morning with this absolutely orange sky. I really can't even explain to you how brilliantly orange the sky was this morning. But it's starting to turn this yellow color, and I'm sure the sun is a couple of minutes away from rising. But in any case, we're looking forward to a good day. I don't know what's out there at the moment. We've had these lions keeping us awake for most of the evening. They seem to have been camped up around the camp this morning when we woke up and peeked outside the camp when they were roaring. It seemed like they were roaring right outside our kitchen, and there were footprints all over the camp. The lions have been going around and around the camp the whole night. Makes you think about walking around in your sleep. Eh? But the idea today is Leopard Day. We've got Herbert back. He's been off sick for a little bit. We've got Herbert back, and he's busy combing through the bush at the moment, looking for signs of Karula coming back into Nkuhuma. And I think that it's a nice thing to look for. Hey? Some leopard. But we've also got a request. David hasn't seen an elephant in a long, long time. And so we might see if we can follow up that herd from yesterday. So that's the plan. I don't know what's going to happen. As usual, the best laid plans are almost always and invariably derailed at some point. But we're going to try anyway. But for now, we're going to wait for the sun to come and peek up above the horizon. It looks like that is exactly where the sun is going to come up. And have a look at just the most bizarre. This tree featured very heavily in our Bush Olympics, so it holds quite a nice memory for all of us. It was the twig that provided some shade relief during the whole episode. Yes, the sun is definitely going to rise up there. You can see you can see it getting more intense just to the right-hand side of that stem. There we go. And that's what we're going to be having a look at. So far, all I can hear around us are a couple of grey-headed sparrows and a bearded woodpecker that's busy drumming on his branch somewhere down in the valley in front of us. I haven't heard much else, I must be honest with you. A couple of hornbills maybe. Oh, and we had a flight of Hadidar ibis that came over us just before you joined us live. I'm sure Brent has already reminded you about this. But you're welcome to ask us questions by emailing questions@wildearth.tv or by sending your comments and questions to the hashtag Safari Live. And on that note, Brent is still with those lions, and it'll be a good time for you to go back to him.
Yeah, so they are moving about a bit. The male still trying to keep up with that young female who just wants to play. Get a little bit closer. Oh, oh, oh. There she is. It does really look like she's trying to get rid of him, but he is sticking to her like glue. She just wants to play with the cubs. Oh. Trying to figure out where they're going to go next. There's no real order at the moment. They're just scuttling about, and all the movement is caused by that male and female. Now Lisa is wondering why the lions are staying around this area. Is it because there's water? Well, Lisa, I think it's probably because there's quite a lot of food around here, and that could also be because of the water. So there's a lot of old buffalo bulls, zebra, so lots of prey species around, so therefore the lions haven't felt the need to move on yet. So we're just trying to figure out where to go next. Oh, this lioness is up. I thought they might move south, but now it looks like they might move north. Now the cubs are just running around, being nonsenses, all around that termite mound. Can't see where the male and female have gone. What do you think, Vim? Should we get a bit closer again? Okay. Morning, morning. Well, we get into a better spot. Let's go have a look at that magnificent sunrise with Stef.
Welcome back. Yes, and the sun has just cracked the horizon, and look at that. Just unbelievably bright. It's so bright at the moment that I actually cannot even look at it without hurting myself. So I'm looking at it through my pinched fingers. You're looking at it through a filter or two. Here we go, or three. Just so that you can stare at it as well. That's just creeping up, hidden by that marula tree. It's just incredible how fast it actually rises. Just every single time we see the sunrise, and it's most mornings, most evenings, I take some time to watch the sunrise and greet the day. And it just sort of never astounds me how quickly that sun breaks the horizon and rises up into the sky. And how, with us moving back towards the equator, so how as the sun moves across the equator, how some distance makes it last that much longer. I mean, the sun will start to rise earlier and earlier. I think the sun rises at its earliest here probably around about, or it's light around about 10 past 4, quarter past 4 in the morning, and will set again probably, I don't know, Dave, what time does it set? 7:30 the latest, I think? Sets about 7:30 at the latest. And you can't think to yourself, if the sun is moving that quick, like how big is this planet of ours? And Dave and I were just chatting. He's just been on a recent holiday all the way to Europe and managed to do some of the most amazing cities, Amsterdam and Edinburgh and London, all in one trip. So can't think of 3 different places to go in one small place. And
the sun only goes down at 10:30.
yeah, and he says the sun only goes down there at 10:30. And here we are moaning about the fact that in summer our sun goes down at 7. So Anna Marie, you've just commented on the fact that the sunrise is amazing. I agree totally with you. You know, there it is trying to hide itself behind that marula tree, not doing a very good job at it. But it is amazing, you are right. And once again, for some odd reason, I have this sense of anticipation and excitement that has bubbled up in me as the sun has risen. Probably find I'm a bit pre-programmed to this sort of thing. I'm excited about seeing what's going to happen with the day. What are we going to see next? What is Herbert finding tracks of? How's his brain thinking? What are those lions going to do? Is something going to come down to the pan? You know, has that zebra we were looking at last night, has she had her baby foal last night? All these things are running through my mind. And of course, we don't really know. Who knows what? By this evening when we do our closing, who knows what's going to happen, eh? Oh, that is lovely. Andrew, you've commented on the fact that after hearing the lions roaring, and then you've asked what other animals keep us awake at night. And I'd say hyena are the ones that keep us awake most, but you get used to them. And I'd say that probably a close second would be elephant. Elephant in camp or around camp, breaking branches and shuffling through the leaves definitely do wake me up. And I know a couple of other members of the team as well. Kirsty has mentioned, James has mentioned, elephants keeping them awake, Geraldine. And I'm talking about hyena in the camp, busy biting through our dustbins and rummaging in through the kitchen scraps to see if they can get anything to eat, not them whooping on their roads. And then after that, what would it be, Dave? Nothing except for hyena and elephant. Yeah. Nothing except for hyena and elephant there. And lion, of course, when they're around camp. And then, on the odd occasion when Tingana or Mvula visits the lodge, Tingana, for some odd reason, just loves to rasp and roar, and does so every couple of minutes for his whole circuit around the camp. So that definitely wakes me up from time to time. So he also comes very close to the camp. Just look at that. Star of the show, the scraggly looking marula tree. Oh, that's lovely. All right. Now that the sun has risen and we've got our game plan set, sort of, I think we can safely say go back to Brent, and we're going to carry on and see what we can find for you.
So we're back in amongst the pride at the moment with cubs, females, and the adults are just wandering around, all trying to avoid that male and female. Look at that. Recalcitrant old bag. Now there's an interesting handle. Well, a big welcome to you. And recalcitrant old bag would like to know, do cubs in the same litter possibly have different fathers? Yes. So even all 3 cubs in the same litter, it's possible for them to have been sired by different males. That is the most fun bush in the whole Sabi Sands at this very moment. Oh, cubbies, cubbies everywhere. Ooh, that one looks like he's got serious swagger. No, as I said, doesn't look like... Oh, incoming. No, decided against it. It doesn't look like they caught anything last night. And definitely from all the noises last night, they were hunting. That little bush still providing ample entertainment. Now, Michael is saying, it seems like everything in the bush makes an excellent toy. There we go. If you're a lion cub, and that is definitely true, Michael. The exuberance of youth. That's quite a wobbly little perch that guy's got there. Could we see a tumble? Uh-oh. 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 Sometimes it's nice to just sit quietly and enjoy. big games. Oh, cubs back in the tree as well. Let's try getting a better spot for that. Lev says, I think adult lions spend all their time sleeping to make up for all the time they spend playing as cubs. Well, the joy about being a cub is that your body weight is not too much, so you don't get as hot as easily. So it looks like they are on the move again. While we try and get around, let's go see what Stef's up to.
At the moment we've decided to turn ourselves into polar bears. It's decidedly freezing on Twin Dabs Road today, and my one claw-like hand that's holding the steering wheel don't quite know how else to say it. It's freezing. I think I'm absolutely not going to drive down the Mulwati anymore. I'm going to cross it and go back up to warmer climes. It's so we're just going to be crossing through the Mulwati right now, going up onto the other side and seeing if we can find a warm patch. It's like being in a swimming pool at the moment where you are flitting from warm patch to warm patch. So let's cross here quickly. Other than that, I'd love to know how it's going with all of you this morning, wherever you are. You're welcome to send through some comments and I'll share it with everybody. Dave and I are having a nice chat and a catch-up. It's the first time we've had to sit down properly and have a chat since he came back from his leave. And it's just added a nice sort of atmosphere, friendly atmosphere to everything. One thing I do want to do today that I want to share with you, I want to spend some time looking for a weeping boerbean tree that is in flower today. That I think is a must-do. I think when it warms up a little bit more, not now, I will put Wendy into the Mulwati and we'll go for a drive down the riverbed to see if we can find a flowering weeping boerbean tree to share with you. I am wanting to go there for the bird life and for the insect life that it attracts. And I'm almost certain that somewhere on this reserve there has to be one. We found tamboti flowering, knobthorns are obviously flowering. Funny enough, we haven't seen any tree wisteria or shambok pod yet. But I'm not really, I'll wait until I see one. I'm not really wanting to see one of those just yet. As pretty as what they are, I'm wanting not to diversify myself too much. So we'll be looking for weeping boerbean today. Birdie, all the way from Georgia, you've asked me, do I have to deal with any parasites out here? Where you are, you've got assassin bugs and a whole bunch of things. Yes, Birdie, I have to. We deal with two things here, or three things here that are nasties. My favorite and most common one being ticks. Little parasites, blood-sucking parasites that we have here. They're just on every grass stalk, it seems. And as a trails guide walking around here, ticks are what cover me most and most often. The second one that we have to deal with is mosquitoes, and while there are no clouds of mosquitoes here, we do have mosquitoes that carry malaria, and so it is a bit of a worry for me with everyone in camp. We've got to try and protect ourselves from malaria and from getting sick from malaria. But really, you only have to worry about malaria itself. Oh, how bright is that sun? Give me Chinese eyes over here. Making my ears pull up all funny and then my earpiece falls out. The third one that we have to deal with is the ever-present fly. Now, while they're not really parasites, we do have some blood-sucking flies here. They are parasitic to my mood. So they suck away my good mood and can ruin a good feeling day by flying around my face in their clouds. So those are the three things that we have to deal with over here, is ticks, mosquitoes and flies, in that order basically, from nuisance generating. Right, now I've swapped one drainage line for another and my hand is still not getting any warmer. Just hovering just above freezing at the moment. Probably a couple of degrees centigrade above freezing, 9-10 degrees it feels like at the moment. And this cold band of air that we're driving through is exactly what precipitates the dawn chorus. Please excuse, my mouth isn't working, so my lips have become rubbery. What precipitates the dawn chorus? So air during the day rises, and then as soon as the sun goes down, this air starts to cool and to settle. And what it does is it fills up the hollows and fills up all the low places, and as more air starts to push it down, you get this layer forming, this very, very stable layer that forms very close to the earth. And because of the different density that it is to the air above it, what happens is birds use that density to bounce sound. Lions bounce their sound, leopard bounce their sound in this thinner band of air. It's not a column of air up into the sky, it's a thin band of air, and it makes sound travel much, much further. And that is why we have a dawn chorus, and that is why at sunset or just after we have all the animals vocalizing together. Let's see, being here where I am, let's see if we can hear. So we've got some mouse birds, we've got a black-eyed bulbul, we've got a fork-tailed drongo, an oxpecker, white-browed scrub robin, also given me some time to warm up my hand, my claw, just rub it on my knuckle. Oh, it is chilly today. We've got some oxpeckers calling here. It doesn't sound like they're calling from a nest. They're maybe calling... yes. Look through that gap there, Dave. You'll see something standing in the drainage line there, if you can.
It's about here.
Right through that tree here. You'll see... focus through there, and you will see a... Let me go forward a bit. There you go. That's what the oxpeckers were sitting on. That giraffe is standing in the drainage line, lower than what we are at the moment. We're actually looking down on him. That's what the oxpeckers were standing on. How amazing is that? It's through this little window in the bush. That's all we can see. He's probably about 100 yards away from us at the moment. Why he's in this deep drainage line can only be food. He wouldn't be here because he's getting warmer. He wouldn't be in there for the protection it affords him. Giraffe are tall, and interlocking branches will create a hazard for him. So he literally, I think, is just in there for food. That is it. And the oxpeckers found him for us. Isn't that amazing? I don't know, one of the most bizarre shots of the giraffe is when you're able to look down on top of them when they're standing next to you. That is exactly what's happening here. Chewing the cud. So giraffe are ruminants. And so watch what happens. He's going to chew a bit, and then he's going to stop chewing, and you'll see that bolus of food go down his throat. You'll probably be able to see it just where his jawline goes into his throat. You'll see this bolus going down there. There he goes. Let's see if he... No. And then he'll regurgitate something into his mouth. Here it comes. There we go. How disgusting is that this early in the morning? Sorry. So what he's doing is he's basically using his teeth to grind into smaller pieces the food that he ate during the night and yesterday. And what that does is it increases surface area, and so it increases the area that microbes can work on the food and break it down, making their digestive system more efficient but also slower. And so that's why ruminants lose condition so fast during the dry season, is that their digestive system is just too slow to cope with the volume of food that these animals need to eat. And that's why things like buffalo and impala and wildebeest, and to an extent giraffe, always lose condition at the end of winter, at the end of our dry season, or why things like hippo and zebra and elephant and warthog always seem to be a little bit fatter and more plump, is they are capable of eating a larger volume of food. Let's see if we can see that bolus go down one more time. Having a good time over there, this giraffe. Now they normally go into what we call a ruminating posture, and he's still chewing. The ruminating posture is best described as that posture that cows lie in when they're chewing their cud. If you've ever visited a dairy and seen cows lying with their feet curled up, here he goes. He's on the move. That is the ruminating posture. And giraffe do quite often go into that ruminating posture. Why this giraffe? Deborah, you've just commented that the giraffes are your absolute favorite animal. Well, then, Deborah, I dedicate this giraffe to you. This morning, on this particularly cold, fine day, I dedicate this giraffe all to you. Now I've managed to stop where I completely obliterate that giraffe for you. Sorry, David. Let's see if we go a bit more back, if we can see it for Deborah.
That's not bad.
There we go. Such fine placement of this car. As you can see, we're literally trying to place this vehicle through the twigs. Very bizarre seeing a giraffe in such deep bush at the bottom of a drainage line, basically on the sand of this particular riverbed. You can see how wary he is. Definitely a male. You have a look right at the tips of his horns, or his ossicones as they're called. It's bald. Him and I share a similar liking for sun cream and moisturizing, I'm sure. Ooh, Erica, you've just asked me a nice question. You've all the way from Latvia. You've asked me, how long do giraffe live? That's pretty easy to answer, around about 30 years. But then you've asked me, how many babies can giraffe have in their lifetime? Now, let me just think about when a giraffe has babies for the first time. I may have to go into my reference books to confirm this. But let me say that giraffe females will have their first calf between 2 and 4 years old. Let's leave it as wide as what I can there. So between 2 and 4 years old, they'll have their first calf, and they'll have a calf every 2 years from there. So 30, take off 4 years to get mature, so we're going down to 24. Take off another couple of years for just lions and hyena and dangers out here, so we go down to a nice even number of 18 years of productive life, and then divide that into 3 just for the odd calf that doesn't want to wean too much. Divide that into 3, so what does that give us? 3 goes into 18, just my maths when my brain is cold like this. 6 times. That's terrible. So 6 times, she'll have 6 calves in her life and then take off maybe 1 or 2 for lions. So they'll probably have about 4. So I would say that a giraffe will have anywhere from 3 to 6 calves in their lifetime, if that makes any sense. Just a quick sort of equation there for you. 3 to 4 calves in their lifetime. You're welcome to, or 3 to 6. You're welcome to obviously try and let us know what that is and share that comment to us on the hashtag Safari Live or through emails, the questions@wildearth.tv. But I don't think that we're too far off between 3 and 6. Alrighty. Deborah, I'm so glad that I've made your day. Let's see if we can do it again at some point. So on that note, and while we get out of the Arctic that we're driving around in here and I can wipe my nose properly, we're going to send you through to Brent with those lions.
So it's quite difficult. We've only got visual of 2 at the moment, and 1 cub. The rest are spread out through this very broken area. So the elephants have pushed over lots of trees and we can't even sneak through it. And there we go, there's some more cubs there. We've got 1 lioness lying in the light. Looking quite content, if I do say so myself. Emeritus Fox would like to know, do lions recognize each other by sight and scent? I would say yes to both. And the second part of the question is, if they split into 2 different prides, would they recognize each other as friends? They would for a certain amount of time, but if those prides split for a very long time, and then unfortunately, or fortunately, depending, they would become separate prides and fight with each other. And I have seen that before. So it looks like they're up. We've got 1 little rascal still next to us. I can hear some disagreements happening in the distance between the male and the other lioness. You can see ears up, listening to what's going on. Oh, cub's on its way. They have chosen one of the more impenetrable blocks that we have on Nkuhuma. We will try to stick with them. And she's up as well. So we're going to go do a bit of bundu bashing. While we do that, let's go catch up with Stef.
You have no idea how those few words make me cringe. We're going to have to do a bit of bundu bashing with Brent Smith in Rusty. All I'm experiencing in my head now is spanners, spare parts, trailers. The Leo Smith artwork on one of our vehicles. No, we're about to approach Buffelshoek Dam. I don't know, it was just a comment that David made. We need to go to Buffelshoek and go and see what's floating around in the mud cesspool that is left there at the moment. And it was a good suggestion because Louise. Louise just commented that if it makes me feel better, Brent is being very careful. Thanks, Louise, but I doubt that. So, Buffelshoek Dam is a couple of days away from being dry, and in actual fact, I highly doubt that we see anything when we get there. It may have that hippo from Vuyatela Dam in it again. That hippo has the bizarre habit of swapping between the two when the Vuyatela Dam is a far better proposition. But let's go and see there in any case. I think it is going to be quite interesting to see what has managed to make itself a home there. Even the birds have moved on. The hippo, if you wouldn't mind just repeating that, Louise, I heard something about the hippo in Vuyatela Pan. So Raccoon Pet, good morning, Raccoon Pet. You've said that the hippo that was in the pan last night returned this morning with an injury of some sort. That's quite interesting. I wonder where you managed to get that. I can only imagine it's from another hippo. They quite often do, especially in times like this, will quite often injure one another quite badly. But it could also have been the fact that those lions, having been around the camp the whole night, maybe gave him a little bit of a go. That would be quite interesting to see how bad it is, you know, to what extent. Was it made by tooth and claw, or was it made by one of those massively sharp incisors that these hippopotamus have? But yeah, 50% of all the hippo that are born in an area end up being killed by other hippo. They are incredibly aggressive toward one another for all the fact that they are contact species. Big male hippo don't tolerate smaller male hippo like the one that we have here, not very easily anyway. And it would be interesting to see what happens there. They've got a lot of meat on them, as you can see, so it's generally speaking they repair up quite well. I think the worst I've ever seen a hippo injured was a female that was trying to protect her calf from an older male, and he just bit her across the back and was literally, it lacerated her with cuts this deep, this long, and easily this deep all the way through. And she was stiff for a few days and then ended up recovering almost 100% with the exception of a few scars. So they're quite tough animals. If he's moving about and he's still able to feed himself, then hopefully he gets better. So Erica, from Latvia, you've asked me which is the slowest reproducing animal that we find in Africa. I would have to say probably one of the whales, Erica, as in terms of actual time spent with calf inside gestating. Although on land or terrestrial, it would have to be the elephant at 22 months. Can you imagine being pregnant for 22 months? Followed after that by rhinoceros at about 16 months. And then funnily enough, even though they're the same weight, can you believe it, a hippopotamus is half. So a hippopotamus is 8 months. And the reason for that is because they're suspended in water and it's easier for the calf to grow. Isn't that amazing? And then slightly longer than a hippo would be a buffalo at 12 months. Giraffe also 16 months. So yeah, elephant at 22 months, and then, although I don't know this for a fact, it would probably be whales as the longest. And here are the biggest whale that visits our shores is the southern right whale. As far as I know, one of the largest whales that we find. And here is Buffelshoek, as predicted. Not much going on, but I think let's give it a little bit of time. Let's give it the benefit of the doubt, and let's go a little bit closer to the mud and see what exactly is flitting around over there. And while we get ourselves into a nice spot and see what is here, let's send you back to Brent with those lions. We'll catch up with some news in a little bit.
So we've lost the rest of the pride, but we've still got the single male who's keeping up the rear. Now, at the moment, the other male, who's growling and trying to keep that little lioness to himself, appears to be dominant. Now, this guy could be playing a very smart move. So, you can see he looks a bit better fed, and that lioness isn't quite ready to mate yet. So, what happens sometimes is these male lions will literally wait, let the other guy do all the chasing, and utilize a lot of his energy and growling, chasing lions, fighting. You can see he's quite a bit skinnier than this one at the moment. This guy's looking nice and well fed. And then as soon as she's actually ready to mate, he'll step in there, beat up his coalition mate, and take the first mating rights. So it could be the fact that he's playing the smart game. Now, of course, this doesn't happen every single time, but it is frequent enough that, or in my experience that I've seen, that this, I think he's playing the smart patience game when it comes to mating. Oh, I can hear a crow calling above us. You see some zebra? VM's spotted some zebra behind the lions. Are you going to go hunt it by yourself, big boy? Looks like he's going to try. Yeah, exactly. As Vim says, I don't know where he's going to put it with a belly that size. Okay. Let's just try reposition to see where he's going. We're not going to stick to him too closely if he is hunting. Now, this is quite a good area. And maybe he is going to go dispel the myth that male lions don't hunt and let the lioness do all the huntings. Male lions do a lot of hunting by themselves because they are away from the pride while they're patrolling a lot. So the zebra are moving that way, he's cut that way. So we're not going to stick right behind him in case we interfere. He's moving quite quickly. Yeah, there he is. Now, could he be getting into a good position that the zebras sort of stumble onto him? Okay, just gonna watch, I'm just trying to plan where to go next. Okay, let's go. I know where, more or less where he's going, and there is a road up ahead. I just want to see if we can get a view of the zebras, see where they're going. Now, believe it or not, I've seen a male lion take down a near adult giraffe by itself. So, taking down a zebra, as long as you can get close enough, is not out of the question. So also, one of the reasons I'm making my way back to the road is that less bashing and crashing, we're less likely to distract the zebra or bring attention towards the lion. So, where would you say? I'd say the zebra's crossed somewhere around here, have you? Now, I didn't quite see what they were. I think VM spotted them before me. I think, actually, VM, is it? There he is. No, it's another male lion. I think, or another lioness that came through. I think it could be Amber. Ah. Okay, there we go. I think it might have been the amber-eyed lioness. There she is. So Sally in Oregon is wondering why they try isolate, the males try isolate the females from the rest of the pride. And she says, understands why they wouldn't want another male around. Well, Sally, there's distractions, and the male lions just are programmed to eat, breed, and fight. So that's what they're doing. Is that Amber? I can't really see. Must be. She was the only lioness we couldn't see earlier. She might have been on her way to join the rest of the pride when he spotted her. I'm just waiting to see what happens here. He might lie down next to her. Or not. Not interested. Now again, the Nkuhumas are providing us with just the most magic lion sightings at the moment. Now, Michael's wondering, between the Styx and the Nkuhumas, which ones have the Birmingham boys spent more time with? Well, Michael, up until now, I would probably say it has been they've spent more time with the Styx, but at the moment they seem to be spending a lot of time with the Nkuhumas. Well, Safari has said that Birmingham boy looked like her bodyguard watching over her while she sleeps. I think he was just checking her intention, and that she wasn't very interested. Now, let's have a look. Is that amber eyes, Vim? Looked like it. Let's look at us, please, madam. Let's try get her. No, he's moved off and he's laying down just in the distance there. We can't really make out where he is. Let's go have a look. Yes, that's definitely Amber. As she looked at me, could see those beautiful eyes. while the lionesses aren't pregnant, they do come in and out of estrus quite regularly, and that does cause great excitement amongst the male lions. But once they are pregnant, they will generally become non-receptive to mating. There are, of course, some strange things that happen. Sometimes, even if she's pregnant, some of those hormones confuse the males a little bit, so they think she might be ready for mating, even though she is not. But generally, once she is pregnant, that's the end of mating, till those cubs have become independent. And Shamsung was actually wondering about that. Well, Lauren says, I think Amber Eyes would make a terrific mother, and she seems to be in great condition. Indeed she does, Lauren. All the Nkuhuma lionesses are looking fantastic at the moment. But I do agree, I think she'd be a fantastic mom. They're just doing a little bit of morning grooming. So while things are calm here amongst the big cats, let's go see how Stef's endeavours are faring.
Welcome back. And we had to leave Buffelshoek Dam. There was just one lonely little three-banded plover that was pecking around in the mud, and we heard some elephants screaming from where we are right now. Now we're on Buffelshoek Cutline, and it just sounded like a calf scream, not getting enough milk from his mom or being chastised in some way. But I think they have gone over the boundary here, to be quite honest. I think they are in Buffelshoek, but we're just going to, I think, take this road. This is Buffelshoek Cutline, and see if we don't get either the front end or the tail end of this particular herd in here. We're looking for some tracks, some old elephant tracks that have come over on these game paths towards the mud. Not much happening at Buffelshoek. There was something that walked through the mud yesterday. It looked like either a hippo or an elephant had walked into the mud and then walked out the bank, but none of that characteristic dish shape, wallow shapes. And that'll pretty much signify the end of the water in Buffelshoek Dam for now. As soon as you get those, a rhino or a buffalo or a hippo or an elephant, scoop out the side, and it plasters the last little bit of moisture around the side of the dam, and then that's that. And then the next rain that we can expect will probably be around about the 1st of September. So, Enya from Finland, you just asked when can we expect rain to ease the drought. And we'll get our first rain in around about September, I think. But it'll be a spattering of frontal rain. It's not going to be anything major. We call major rain here anything over 20 millimeters, anything over that much. And I expect the first rain over 20 mils to be here around about October the 10th. I think James and I share the same bet on October the 10th, and then Brian's got a bet for the 15th of September, I think. So Brian has taken it a whole month early, and being Brian's the 20th of September. I thought he was the 15th, but still, it's still in September. But David has decided that it's the 18th of September. Okay, so we've got an elephant there in the distance. There, far away, there. I think it's an elephant. Let me just double check. before we zoom in on a naughty. Yeah, it's an elephant. Right. Done. So, we are going to go and find that elephant. I think that he's close to a road there. Not driving as much as what I do, it was always a difficult thing to decide where exactly these animals are. But I think that he's going to be close to a road. I think we're going to be able to get you there. Doesn't look like a particularly big one. If I were to say that we are most likely going to encounter a herd of elephant there rather than a single bull. But nevertheless, let's give it a bash and then see. Jenny, you've asked me if is there truth to the rumor that I burn elephant dung to keep mosquitoes out of my room. I do burn elephant dung. It is a fantastic fly repellent. I generally burn it when I'm in the car, and I have made a little tin. I'll tell you what, I'll bring the tin with on safari to this afternoon, and I'll burn some elephant dung for you so you can see what it looks like. It'll be difficult to describe what it smells like to you, but we're going to try our best. It does create a bit of a fuzzy frontal lobe feeling, but that being said, this is the best time of the year to burn elephant dung because they're eating so many species of woody plants, and it's the woody plants that have all the compounds in it, all the medicinal compounds. The bark and the root in particular are very high in concentrations of these medicinal herbs, so I don't think it would be a bad thing to actually burn some elephant dung, had it? Have a bit of a waft over the car and see what good or bad it does to us. Let's hope they haven't been eating a lot of tamboti by the time we do it this afternoon. But I'll tell you what, I'll bring it, I'll show you. But yes, you can burn elephant dung, and it is a fantastic repellent for mosquitoes and flies. In actual fact, in some of the reserves that I've visited where you have lots of tsetse fly, and tsetse fly are these flies that bite you with a white hot needle, and the guides there have elephant burners, or these of a similar design to what I'll show you this afternoon, hanging on the front of their car and one hanging on the back of their car, and the smoke wafts over you for a 6 or 7 hour safari. Alright, so this is where we saw that elephant. Let us see. Well, here it is. 2. Yes. Hello. What I'm going to try and do is not try and startle her. Him, actually. Young male. Let's see if we can... I actually think that this is the same young male we were with yesterday morning. Can you believe it? Let's see. Good morning, boy. I just want to be quiet and slow and calm and precise. Have a look at that. That is 3 yards away from where we are right now. So Kat, all the way from Kansas, well, good evening to you, Kat, firstly. And you've asked, do I wear insect repellent or would it bother the animals? Now, Kat, if you'd excuse me whispering with this, I don't want to disturb this ellie busy pushing his trunk through the bush literally 2 feet from where we are now. But yes, I do wear insect repellent in summer on my legs, for ticks in particular, because I walk around in the grass so much. And it does smell, but I've never seen it bother an animal too much. I think the smell of a human, all our different scents together, the detergents we wash our clothes with, the soaps we wash with, toothpaste, creams, sun creams and moisturizing creams and lip balm and whatever else we lather all over our bodies, is just a mix that for most animals, when you're walking around in the bush, is a smell that they tend to just avoid. But yes, I do wear insect repellent. Now this is quite interesting. This elephant, I thought it was one that we had seen yesterday, but in closer inspection, this elephant only has one tusk, you can see. He's broken his other tusk off. Now for such a young lad to have broken off his tusk, my immediate thought is that he, rather than breaking it off, he may have actually only been born with one tusk. Now why I think that, I don't know, but it's most likely that he broke it off feeling. But have a look at that, using that tusk, the one that he has left, to great effect. And once again, not destroying these red thorns. In this particular case, this elephant has now picked a branch off the red thorn, but rather than break the entire tree, here we go, we can see what happens. That red thorn will be looking like this in 24 hours time. Now he's just bitten off the stick. He hasn't even eaten the leaves. He's just wanting to eat the sticks. Not much water coming out. That was actually amazing. We just watched an elephant urinate only probably about 2 liters, half a gallon of urine. Not much at all. And I'm wondering if it's not because these elephants are so dehydrated at the moment. It's just one of those things that sort of save moisture. That's incredible. So probably as little a urine puddle that I've ever witnessed from an elephant has just come out of one. That's amazing. So yeah, obviously the elephant, once again, just adapting to this dry climate. Bodies are retaining as much moisture as they can. Red, you're right. This elephant does tear branches off this tree like nothing. They're incredibly strong. You know, they're strong to a point where we actually can't really even decide how strong they actually are. You know, it's unusually strong. He's now going around to the other side of that buffalo thorn. Let's see what he does there. Wanting those fresh leaves. Dee, you've actually just asked a question that I was trying to figure out in my mind as you asked it. You asked, how old do I think this elephant is? Now, Dee, the only real way to decide how old an elephant is for the elephant to show us what set of teeth he's on. They get 6 sets of molars, and we'd be able to see an exact age from the wear and tear on which particular pair of molars he is. But because I can't see those molars, I'm now having to use other indicators. His size, for one, would be an indicator, so size relative to tusk length. The condition of his ears. The general condition that he's in, so sunken temples, a massively developed skull, all would lead me to believe that he is older than what he is. This particular elephant has got quite nice tusks. He's definitely not very big. I mean, he's as big as a large female elephant, and that is tiny for male elephant stature. His skin is in good condition, his ears are in good condition, and the fact that he's with a breeding herd of elephants and not in must would make me believe that this particular male elephant is probably somewhere between 12 and 17 maybe, not as old as 17. I'd say he's probably in his mid-teens, round about 13 to 15 years old if I were to gather any sort of meaningful guesses together. That is what I would guess, just using those indicators that I've just told you there. Skin's in very good condition, ears in very good condition, skull not overly developed, he's not particularly big, he's not in mutts, and he's with a breeding herd of elephant. That's what I can see from where we are. He's just stuck his head into this buffalo thorn. Buffalo thorns out here take an absolute hammering from elephants. We found a big buffalo thorn the other day, and they're just so rare to see. Because generally speaking, elephants, as you can see from this one, have broken off branches almost all the way around it, and they end up being these scraggly, twiggy things. And in some areas, they've just completely almost been annihilated. And this particular elephant, he's taking care not to damage the branches at the top. He seems to be going for the choicest ones closer into the main stem or the main bushy part of this particular tree. And you can see how careful he's being. He's just plucking off a branch at a time. There you go. I mean, once again, just adding to this impression that, elephant are quite often just portrayed as these wanton destroyers of the vegetation. I don't think so. I've watched them with red thorns lately, and they are very particular about how they prune red thorns. And you can watch this elephant with this buffalo thorn. While the tree looks like it's taken a bit of a hammering from elephant, it's still growing, and he is just being particular about what branches to put in his mouth. I mean, he's not eating the terminal ends off of the branches, breaking the sticks, as you see. So Lauren, you've just asked me an interesting question. You've said, would this male, if he doesn't stay with the herd and females do, would he know his sisters from his moms? And is there a chance that elephant mate with their relatives? Lauren, there's always a chance that animals will mate with their relatives, but generally speaking, animals are a bit more resilient to inbreeding than what humans would be, for instance. The reason for that is they've got a little bit of a deeper genetic diversity. Unlike humans and cheetah, for instance, and probably rhinoceros to a point, we haven't gone through an evolutionary bottleneck where the amount of breeding females that were available to any given species was reduced to a couple of dozen or a couple of hundred. There are, in humans, I think, about 60, it's either 60 or 600 different types of genetic variations, which have led scientists to believe that Homo sapiens went through a bit of an evolutionary bottleneck that reduced the numbers of humans down to virtually nothing. Elephant haven't gone through that particular bottleneck. Cheetah have, white rhino definitely have, black rhino definitely have. And so you don't have much diversity with those species. But now to actually answer your question as to would they know their siblings? Yes, they would know their siblings. Big male elephant leave their herds at about 12 to 18 years old, and then they become nomadic. And Mother Nature forces this nomadic life on them while they're still young and they're not really sexually active and they're not really big enough to compete for females, so that their wanderings take them far away from the natal home range of their relatives, basically. So that the hope is, when this elephant is finally big enough and strong enough, he's far enough away from his natal range that he doesn't mate with his sisters. And that is why males do get nomadic in almost any species, not just elephant. So just in conclusion to this point, you can see that this male elephant at some point will leave his herd. He will spend another 12 or 15, maybe even 16, up to 20 years wandering the Kruger National Park. They don't have a territory or a home range. Hopefully by the time he's big enough and strong enough to compete with other elephant for mating rights, he will be far away from this particular herd that gave birth to him. But if it did have to happen, for whatever reason, it's not that much of a problem once or twice or for one or So I hope that answered your question adequately there. And on that point, I think it's about time that we sent you back through to Brent, who's got an update for you.
We are on the western edge of our traverse area at the moment, and we are searching for any sign of leopard. So far, no luck. I've also got my Arethusa radio on, so just keeping an ear out to what's happening in the west. Now Herbie's been out, and he did tell me that there were tracks of a female leopard, unfortunately leaving Juma and going into Sibambili, which is of course outside of our traverse area. So I think we might take a swing past Red Dam, see what's happening there this beautiful winter's morning. Hi Chloe in Illinois. Chloe's wondering, do we ever see any caracal in the area? Chloe, I've heard of only one caracal being seen in the last couple of months on a property just to the south of us, but there's always a possibility, and with this drought and lack of vegetation, it's our best chance to possibly see one in the next couple of months. So we're always going very carefully along this road. It's a very busy road, so you've got to go quite slowly to see tracks nicely, and also it's quite nice to just go slowly and bask in the sunlight like a lot of other creatures are going to be doing at the moment. No sign of anything yet. So what our plan is we're going to head down, we're going to nip into Arethusa, check down towards the Marikene River, and then pop back up towards Red Dam. Hi Dee. Dee's wondering, is it quite cold there? Well Dee, that all depends on where you're from in the world. For us, it's quite nippy at the moment. It's winter. Our temperatures are ranging from about 40 odd Fahrenheit, oh hello, to around 60 in the mornings, but heating up to about 95. Here we go. Hello, elephants. Sorry guys, I'm just listening to the radio. I copied, thanks Mike. Hello. Okay guys, I've just got a report in my ear that is going to have to make me drive very fast, very far. I need to get down to Cheetah Plains, and I'm not going to tell you why. Copy Mike, I'm en route. Okay, I've got to go across to Stef, but hopefully we'll be there as soon as possible.
Just as I said, the artwork that is going to be rusty when it returns back from the safari is going to be something to witness. we're just calmly looking at these elephants, which are not going anywhere right now. I don't quite know what the dynamic is between these two elephants. I think they're relatives. I don't think it's mother and calf. I think they're cousins or sisters, potentially, because it's not a very old female, the big one, and the youngster and her have decided that that tree needs to be cut very short. Obviously totally opposite to what I was talking about elephant knowing that what they are doing and how they prune different things. And they're literally just putting a twig in their mouth at a time and just stripping that tree of everything. Not killing it, they're not breaking it at the root. All they're doing is they're chewing off every single branch that they can fit into their mouth without killing the tree. So the tree will survive that mauling by coppicing. And what that means, it'll become sort of multi-branched. That main stem will split into many smaller stems. Have a look at that female, not using her trunk, doesn't want to kill the tree, just biting off the branch. So actually, let me change my original statement by saying that they are still pruning this particular tree, only rather aggressively, rather than killing it. Now in winter, or the dry season when there's not a lot of grass around, elephants become almost completely browsers. In other words, they will change their diet from almost completely grass in summer to almost completely woody species of trees. And they will absolutely just eat as much as they can, filling up, I mean, a big male elephant, you're looking at 200 kilograms, 400 pounds of bush in a day per elephant. Now, even if you halve that and halve that again, 50 pounds, so even if you halve that and then halve that again at 50 pounds, you're still looking at around 20,000 elephant at 50 pounds of food on average a day. You can work out that maths and you'll see that it is a lot of food that is getting consumed in terms of bushy species. Now, Chloe, you've asked me, what is an elephant's favorite food? Chloe, that is so difficult to say. I would say that in summertime, it's definitely grass, and the more high-protein grasses, panicums and the guinea grasses, I think, maybe the thermidas, because you see them sitting in these fields, literally stuffing their mouth full after mouthful after mouthful of grass, and they spend hours, even days in these areas. Outside of the grasses would have to be a difference. They seem to enjoy acacia bark. They seem to be enjoying mupani leaves, because you see them eating a lot of those particular types. The bark from, I suppose, it's a mixture of everything, really. Different trees are providing different things for elephants, and I think that they will develop a taste for sugarcane and for crops. And that's probably where I'm leading to with this particular conversation, is that they are crop raiding. In other words, they'll develop a taste for sugarcane or maize or millet or some other type of farmed crop, and they'll become absolute pests. A lot of people in Africa are killed every year by elephants, and equally a lot of elephants in Africa are killed every year because of their crop raiding attitudes that they get. They develop this bad habit, and an elephant that has developed a taste for citrus or for sugarcane or for maize quite often needs to be destroyed. And I say that in the lighter sense. I mean, people have been destroying crop raiding elephants for centuries, and it's not such a problem nowadays. Nowadays, the boundary between, South Africa at least anyway, the boundary between people and animals is incredibly well patrolled. It's well secure. In other parts of Africa, people have been moved away from these wilderness areas, or potentially the wilderness areas have been proclaimed far away from people. Who knows which one came first? And I think there's probably a good mix of both. But you have these areas where people inhabit but don't live. So people collect wood and maybe hunt a little bit, collect bush medicine, will harvest a variety of different types of fruits and roots and leaves for food. Elephant will also cross out of the reserves where they're not persecuted into these, what we call game management areas, these buffer zones between where people stay and where animals live. And they can be quite extensive. I mean, I know in Zambia they can be even up to 100 kilometers wide in some areas. And that's an extensive piece of land, this grey zone. And that is in areas where it's too expensive or too difficult to maintain a perimeter around a particular wilderness area. They don't have fences. In actual fact, I think South Africa is the only country in Africa that has fenced almost all of its national parks. So people can literally live right up onto the boundary. And problem animals are therefore eradicated. Or the problem of a problem animal is reduced. Let me put it to you that way. Reduced to almost zero. I had this wonderful encounter with a man called Nakedi a couple of years back, and he was doing a doctorate degree on leopard, and in particular leopard and cheetah, in terms of large predators, find boundaries very porous. They're not hemmed in by fences. They're not restricted by fences at all. Even electrified fences, cheetah and wild dog and leopard, but in particular cheetah and leopard, don't even see these things. And he was studying the effect of how many times do leopards on the periphery of these reserves go into urban areas or into rural areas, and what are they eating? He was doing scat samples to figure out if they were eating dogs and chickens and cats. And it was just amazing. The amount of information that he was gathering on these leopard that we saw in reserves like the Sabi Sands that are relatively close to human settlements, relative being the word. And the amount of time that these animals spent in settlements was just astounding. The fact that more people are not killed by these animals just shows the massive tolerance that these animals actually have for humans. And therein lies another topic of conversation. Humans seeing themselves as something apart from the natural environment, which they're not. Our beard, well, hello for one, and yeah, it's good to hear from you. And secondly, you've asked me what type of fence keeps elephants in or out of areas. It's quite a substantial fence made up of cable, really, and railway sleepers, and it's also electrified. Elephants are quite sensitive to electrified fences, and so it's electrified. It's quite often doesn't need a razor wire on the top. That is generally just for people. Elephant seem to react nicely just to a thick fence that they can see that's been electrified, really. And that's the type of fence. I'll see if I can. There's nowhere on Djuma. We're far away from fences at Djuma, but except for at the Gowrie Gate, Manyeleti Junction. At some point, I will go past there and I'll make a point of stopping and showing you an elephant fence. Now, these elephants have managed to absolutely annihilate this poor tree, shame. But still, without breaking it. I mean, you often see elephant pushing down massive trees, but this time of the year, I'm not hearing cracks and crackles. I think they've done the big pruning that they've needed to, and now they're just aggressively pruning this poor tree that made them cross with it. Morning Glory, you've commented on something that's close to my heart. You've said, it always amazes you how how elephants decide when to knock a tree down or when to just strip it. And, it's something that I've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 days or so. I agree with you 100%. I don't think that they're the wanton destroyers of the bush. I think that elephants know exactly what they're doing. And while it may seem a little bit aggressive, and it probably is, this is Africa where extremes are the norm, I actually do think that they know exactly what they're doing. I think that there she goes and takes off the last branch. You can see now she could quite easily just pull that entire tree out of the ground, and then using her feet there, she doesn't want that other one. It's definitely a female and a young male. It could even be her calf. She just saw him off there. She wants to finish that tree on her own. Yeah, she puts the whole stick in her mouth. Have a look at that. Entire stick she's now putting in her mouth. That's a forked stick. She's got the one side of the fork in her mouth. Now let's see what she does. Does she choose to break the tree down and then use her foot to break that last stick, or does she walk away? Let's see what she does. No, she's putting the stick in her mouth again, trying to chew it off. What are you doing, girl? You can see how much of that stick she actually had in her mouth, and look how feathered the top is from them chewing it. Let's see, yeah, she uses her tusk again, and she's chewing another stick off right at the top. This is the most bizarre behavior. I've literally just seen this in the last 2 days or so. There she's now pulling it. She's now, those end sticks, she's chewed completely feathered at the top. I wonder if the tree itself is not leaking out some other type of sap. There she's now bending the last branch there. Look at her using her tusk, stripping it. I mean, and it's not like that elephant couldn't just snap that tree straight out of the ground. She could absolutely, with the least amount of ease. Let's see what she does here. There she breaks the branch again. First one way, then the other. And there she's busy stripping it, using that tusk in her trunk to great effect on that particular branch. Ah. So, Bush Mom has just sent us through some information which I'd like to share with everybody. Bush Mom says that in some, well, firstly you asked the question about are elephants scared of bees? And secondly, the information that you sent through is that in some areas beehives are being erected attached to a wire, and when elephant touch the wire and shake the beehive, the bees come out and the elephants run away. And this is a natural way of saving crops for one, but also saving the honeybee and also pollinating food plants. And, I suppose it's a whole massive thing. It's obviously working, Bush Mom, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. And I just think that that's fantastic. It's just another awesome initiative from people rather than resorting to guns and violence. Just a way of working together with nature. Have I seen elephants scared with bees? The drones that we had flying around here a couple of months ago sounded like a swarm of bees, and we definitely saw that at a distance of a couple of meters above an elephant's head that they reacted to the sound of that drone. And I know from walking around with that drone following me in the bush, it sounded exactly like a swarm of bees was flying overhead. Would bees be able to kill an elephant? No, I don't think that bees would be able to kill an elephant. I mean, they'd sting it on its face and its ears, and their ears are relatively sensitive. I mean, I don't think anything wants to be stung by a bee, barring a honey badger, perhaps. Even he wouldn't want to be stung by a bee. They just don't care. That's a good question. Scared of bees, the noise, I think, and the suddenness of bees arriving, the expected violence of an attack, the swarming around their face and in their ears, potentially bees crawling in their ears and stinging the sensitive parts of the ears, the tip of the trunk, on their eyes. Yes, I think that elephants would be scared of bees, and obviously it's an interesting thing, this initiative of the symbiosis between people, bees, and elephants. I think that that's quite an interesting story. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing that with us, Bushmom. Feel free to email that article or whatever information you can. Send it through to questions@wildearth.tv. I know Lou will try and print it out or send it to me via email. I'd love to read the whole article if you can. Just makes for some nice information to share with people all over the reserve. Now, these ellies have moved, which means that we can't see them anymore. So if you'd bear with me while I move the car a little bit. Not okay, I want to see if we can just go around the corner a little bit and see if we can get to these elephants. This road makes quite an interesting jink in front of us and actually goes in that direction, and see if we can get a little bit closer. There still only seem to be three elephant here. I don't see anything more. 4 elephant. Okay, so we've got another one here. Maybe it's the same one. The road twisting. I don't actually know. So yeah, Louise has just made a comment that this may be the short trunk herd. I know that she is in quite a small herd, and that's absolutely a viable comment there, Louise. Let's see if we can see one of the big female without the trunk, I think, is the key. There is one elephant. Let's see. She seems to be the biggest. Although I think this is that young male with a single tusk. Let me just see. But that lady without the tip to her trunk, she's got a tiny calf with her, and I can't see a baby here. Although there are actually more than one. And also all the members of her herd have tusks, whereas this young bull is diagnostic of this particular herd with his single tusk. So Anna Marie, you've asked me a question, or asked us a question, let me say. You've asked us a question about elephant tusks, and does the quality of the vegetation determine elephant tusk length or I suppose size, or is it purely genetic? It's an interesting answer, that one, actually, in that yes, the vegetation will definitely have an impact on their tusks. In this aspect, the harder and the coarser the wood that they have to eat during the dry season will wear their tusks down faster. And in areas where you just have hardwood trees, or a majority of hardwood trees, quite often elephant tusks are broken off. Botswana is a prime example. A lot of Mupani there, and these elephants in Botswana quite often have fractured tusks. But there's also a genetic aspect to it. Elephants in the Kruger National Park have very long, very big tusks. In Botswana, you'll find very thick, stubby tusked elephant that will have massively wide tusks. And that is absolutely genetic. So you do have a genetic aspect. You do have a type of vegetation aspect. And then the third thing that creeps in is the actual minerals availability in that area. Some areas have enough minerals to keep animals 100% healthy. Other areas are mineral deficient. And in areas like forests and things, elephant actually have to eat clay and have to eat a bunch of, you sometimes see elephant eating bits and pieces of the ground. It's called geophagy. And that's to get these minerals that they can't find in their diet into their systems, and that can have an effect on the fragility of tusks and make them a bit more fragile, a little bit more brittle. It's a nice question there. I hope I answered it. I feel like I'm not giving anyone any real answers today. It's just discussions. This elephant is standing now in a thicket. It looks like he's standing in a sickle bush thicket, actually. Let me have a double check there and see what it is. No, it's another red thorn thicket. He's just, once again, just picked a branch off, one of the smaller branches at the top. Now Brent has managed in record time to make it to Cheetah Plains and has a surprise for you. I'm jealous.
So there we go. When I got the report, this buffalo was still alive, and the Styx lionesses have managed to catch a buffalo. And it's just expired, and the cubs are really getting stuck in. The ladies are still a bit tired to start feeding just yet, but these little cubs are being incredibly aggressive with each other. I can hear that growling.
He's just chilling. Well, that was the thing, especially when he was like lying on its neck. Like, get in there, son.
So, oh, look at them, really getting stuck in.
Now you can see, buffalo inside and out.
Oh, here we go. Listen to those little growls.
So this is a great example of animals that can take why we first get the females, then the cubs.
So, the Styx have been doing quite well recently from what I've heard. They've made quite a few kills. This is right on the border of Nkuhuma and Cheetah Plains. Look at the little one just sitting on top. Now, can you believe those growls are coming from babies? Oh, look at that. One's absolutely drenched in blood already. Look at the other one's going to go drink the blood that's pooling. But here comes another Birmingham. Now let's see what he's going to do when he gets to that carcass. He should be quite tolerant of the cubs. There's a lioness coming in. Might not be so tolerant of her. See how she immediately backs off. Oh, look at that. That is one drenched little cub. Oh, look at that, nose to nose with the big Birmingham.
It's not always the case, but it seems to be something that's quite particular on the feed. Yeah, so they're often going onto the back. That's how something like this.
Oh, cub getting in trouble from dad. Now, Blue Butterfrog says these cubbies are definitely going to need some cleaning later.
He's deciding buffalo lips. He wants breakfast. Just like bacon.
No, it's definitely been a lion morning.
Their tongue is actually coarse as very fine sandpaper.
Oh,
So what you'll find happens is that
moving away.
so a lot of the time they'll lick you. Once they've actually started to eat on you,
Just keeping quiet so we can hear what's going on. Now, the male will be tolerant of the cubs to a degree, but he might chase off the females.
Steve and myself were chatting about it last night. People think that these lion kills, like what happens with this, since they're more become my new favorite cub. It's gonna be the one that's getting stuck in. I mean, look at the other cubs butt heads with the males.
Linda would like to know, are these the mangy looking cubs that were left alone at the Juma pan, or that muddy empty pan the other day? They are indeed. This is the Styx pride. So there are 8 cubs here, 3 adult lionesses. And sorry about that. And just 1 adult male at the moment, but he is part of the Birmingham coalition. There's another one who's with the Torchwood Pride around the Kruger boundary and Torchwood, and then the 2 with the Nkuhuma Prides. Now, Safari Dean says that's the cutest thing covered in blood I've ever seen. Yes, they are quite sweet looking. It's amazing how much they sound like adults when they growl. Sorry, I'm just going to move my mic. Sorry if it makes a terrible noise. There we go. Look at that. I can't decide. I think I really like the cub that looks like it's been look at that. So James Richard is wondering, well, don't the cubs only have their milk teeth? So do they have to wait for an adult to open up? Oh, goodness. You've probably found even with their milk teeth, they will be able to chew through certain parts of the skin, the softer area around the nether regions. But it's much easier when it has been opened by the adults, of course.
You know what my best is? What's next, right? I've kind of dropped the gear in a bit of an awkward one because he's your ranger with us.
So unfortunately, guys, there are quite a lot of people waiting to get here. We'll stay for as long as possible, and then we will make space for the other vehicles. I just wanted to get here as quickly as possible, because there's always this incredible interaction just after the animal is killed, and when the animals are still quite hungry, and just getting involved in the feeding process. And look at those little guys. Them just off to the left. Look at that one licking the blood off its stopped off Mom's face. That was the lioness that looked like she was around the nostrils, and now the cub is just licking the blood all off her lips. Lulu Fire is wondering, how did I find out that the Styx were on a kill? I got a call on the radio from Mike on Cheetah Plains. Listen to that sound. Those are cubs growling. Now, Justin is wondering, how many lion kills could lions accumulate over their life? Oof, Justin, I'm afraid that's a near impossible thing to answer, because it all depends. Now, the more cubs that try feed in the same spot, the more aggressive it'll become. Looks like the male's dragging it now. Now, Emma's wondering, would the lions eat the stomach content? They would not, Emma. The stomach content of a buffalo is undigested grass. And of course, lions are after the meat. Now, the bones, if they are able to break open the bones, they definitely will eat them, as the marrow is a very, very good source of protein. See, the cubs seem to be playing Who's the King of the Buffalo on top. It's just incredible to watch. There's the big battle between the two smallest cubs trying to get right inside that buffalo. Oh, watch out for Dad. But it's happy days for the Styx Pride now. Lots of meat. Hopefully a good meal will start getting these cubs looking a little bit better.
He's male. He'll battle on his own. And he'll send forward trying hard. I think he might actually be trying to put back the skin. But the whole lot is
Now, Morning Glory's wondering, oh, the whole Styx Pride here, yes. Well, there we go. We've got 1 lioness, 2 lioness, 3 lioness, and 1, 2. The cubs keep moving, that's what makes them difficult. 3, 4, 5, 6, and I think the others are just behind that buffalo's body that we can't see. Look at that one sneaking up to try feed where the male's opened. Let's see how that works out for him. Cheeky. Oh, he's going to keep trying. You've got to like his attitude. What cheeky little cub. Oh, you've really got to admire the courage of that little one. I'll take a swat back at you, Dad. Look at him, he's still snarling. Still snarling. He's sneaking in again. Oh, he's going to get back up. Oh, oh. Look at this. Very brave little cubs. So Anne in Durban says surely nutrition is the best defense against the skin disorder. And yes, it is.
Wat met jou?
Ek is baie
Bruto woordskap.
ek het vanmôre gesien.
Die manne moet bly weg van my.
Look at this. Hopefully that little cub is going to try and get to that area. So the male's actually open up. It's probably going to go, you can get the tongue. There we go. It's got the tongue. And there it goes. This little guy is still making an incredible racket while trying to sneak closer to where the male's feeding. Look at that little cub just to the right there. He keeps popping his head up. Oh, here we go. The next one calling in. Let's see what happens. I'm not actually coming in here. I'm not actually coming in here. There's the brave and very loud little one coming back. Look at that incredible power, how that male moves that carcass. What Joanne says, look at that. Cubs are practicing. The ones on top of the buffalo for when they have to catch their own buffalo. Oh, now there's 3 going in there. Let's see how long it takes before Dad sends a SWAT. You can see how tolerant the males are of the cubs. Now, if that had to be a lioness, he would have probably whacked her around the ears already. Fierce little ones. Now, Anna Marie is wondering if I think this Birmingham boy took part in the kill. Anna Marie, I know for a fact he did not. So I heard over the radio that he just watched the ladies take it down. Okay, let's see what happens now with those 2 little rascals getting right there where he's feeding. LiveSafari Dean says, look, let's jump on top of the carcass and let Dad pull you around. The one thing we can definitely say is the Styx cubs are not lacking in character. The males moved off the lionesses and try to come in and feed. Incredible sounds. I'm just going to try reposition quickly there. Are there any stations standing by for these Ngala? How's that for you, Ian? Sherry in Colorado. Sherry is wondering why lions don't hoist their kills like leopards. Well, Sherry, buffalo weighs a fair amount, and also lions are not the best tree climbers, whereas leopards are specially adapted to being able to climb trees. Lions not so much, and lions live in social groups, so it's more animals to protect their kill from potential other predators or thieves, whereas leopards are solitary, so it helps to have a larder. It's definitely warming up. The noise is just incredible. Oh, look at that on top. Get ready for a little war. Oh, well, it looks like it's all settled a little bit, so let's jump back on board with Stef, who's got a feathered friend.
Welcome back. Wow, I bet Brent in his element, having raced across there, get to see all those cubs fighting over that carcass. I mean, just amazing. Really, really, really awesome. What you're looking at here, hopefully you can see, it's not the best view, but there in silhouette in the middle of the tree, just below the main stem, is a batelier. And these bateliers are just waiting for the thermals. We're almost ready for thermals at this time of the day. And there we go. Well, so, as I said, almost ready for thermals. Here we go, batelier getting ready to fly out. Just going to see if we can, there we go, Dave's on him. On him. And there we got, awesome. It's looking like it might go and sit in that bush. There we go. How awesome was that? Just swapped trees. Chloe, all the way from Illinois, you've just asked me what's my favorite bird species. Ooh, I'd probably have to say, wow. My favorite call is definitely the crested francolin. As to my favorite bird species, probably the more animated of the birds. So any of the animated birds that don't just sit and do nothing all day or sit and wade. So I suppose the sunbirds and kingfishers I really enjoy. They're just always busy. And I suppose a group of birds that hold my interest. In other words, I'd like to travel to go to a place to go and see these types of birds. Would have to be the sunbirds or the hummingbirds. I just really enjoy their colors and the fact that they're just so super energetic. Now what's happened with this particular batelier? Now bateliers are carrion feeders, so tying it into that carcass that you've just been hauled away from, is that these birds, these bateliers, will often get flying first before the vultures because they're slightly lighter than the vultures, so they can do with less of a thermal. They will then fly around and very often see carcasses first, land in trees nearby, and it's on the back of these birds finding kills first that often vultures will come and investigate a particular area. Now, I'm just double checking my facts here because I'm a bit rusty on sexing of a batelier, but that wing panel that you can see there, so just below the white bar on the wing is a black line, and now it's either a male or a female, so just give me 1 second here. I think the larger in eagles is always the female, and the smaller of the two is always the male. And the reason for that is that females have to produce an egg, and they do it using obviously the materials in their bodies, and they need to be slightly bigger because birds are incredibly weight sensitive. So by her taking out some of her body to make an egg, she needs to be able to replace that energy, and she needs to be able to fly around with that egg inside of her for a bit. So in eagles, at least, the females are always bigger. Now I'm just busy checking here. I'll be with you in 1 second. Let's see. To sex this particular one, it is a male. I thought so. All right, so it's a male, and I know that because of the totally black wing bar just below that white patch. Females, you'll be able to see a white portion there. It'll be completely white. So when they're flying above you, half white, half black is male, and then a skinny little line is a female. This is a male batelier. Even though he looks quite impressive, he's fairly big. Also called the short-tailed snake eagle. It was called the short-tailed snake eagle for a while. They've got a unique way of catching snakes. They sometimes swoop down onto a snake that's crossing a road, pick it up, and then whiplash it in the sky. In other words, they'll pick it up, drag it into the sky, drop it, catch it mid-air, change direction very quickly, which whips that snake and obviously breaks its spine and kills it. And then they eat the snake. So they are called snake eagles. And if this particular batelier allows us a glimpse, you'll see that its feet, well, not its feet really, but its legs are not covered in feathers. They have got featherless legs. and they'll use their wings and their feet to strike out at snakes as well. Obviously, if a snake strikes the feathers on the wings, it's harmless. And then the unfeathered legs are more maneuverable, and they'll strike out using their sharp claws and talons and incredibly strong grip to then disable the snake. But that being said, these short-tailed snake eagles are mostly carrion feeding. They're mostly scavenging birds, and will very often just wait for easier pickings off of a carcass, similar to that one that you are lucky enough to be viewing with Brent. Quintessentially African way of looking at things is this snake eagle in their trees. Because they are carrion feeding birds, you don't really find these birds outside of national parks in South Africa. And that's because they get poisoned quite often. Well, I don't know if it still happens as much, but quite often poisoned carcasses are left out to kill, in particular, jackal and caracal. Excuse me. Excuse me. I tried to cover that as best as I could. Oh, excuse me, please. Sorry. And quite often they fall victim to these poisoned carcasses, and so pairs of battaliers that live on the periphery of national parks in South Africa quite often fall victim, their babies especially, fall victim to these poisoned carcasses. Talking about babies, one of this eagle's babies is flying around us, and I'm going to see if we can pick it up. It's flying over this valley here over my head. And while I need to get my pink head out of your shot there so I can stop disgusting you, let's see if we can see that. Now, it's probably landed now. It was busy calling now. And I can't actually see which tree it landed in. Let's go around the corner and see if we can see it a bit easier. Now, I know that it's immature because it was colorless. It had brown feathers, not black and white feathers. So James Richard, you just commented on enjoying the double-banded sandgrass that we showed you eventually after waiting at that pan for so long last night, and you want to know how many other types of sandgrass we find in this area. James, while there may be some overlap in the northern part of the Kruger with one or two of the other sandgrass species, here in particular we only get the double-banded sandgrass, and that one that we saw last night was the female, and I know that because she was uniformly colored. The males have this big, bold, black and white stripe across their chest. Just have a look at this magnificent knobthorn. I'm going to go back a little bit to just give you the impression here. I like these trees. When I first started guiding, this was the first tree that I could identify from its flowers, and my trainer at that stage just said, they're easy, they're the ice cream trees. And have a look at that. You can see, I mean, it's going to take a little bit of imagination with this particular tree, but you can imagine a cone with an ice cream blob on the top there. Isn't that just amazing? Let's go a little bit closer and have a look at its flowers, and maybe we'll be lucky enough to see what's pollinating it. There's not that many bees around, to be quite honest, and not that many flies. There was one fly, I think James had a fly on a knobthorn flower the other day. So you might find that being the first flowers in the season, there's a butterfly. And you see the butterfly there, Dave? Up on the top, a little bit up to the left. There you go. Up at the top left corner, there's a butterfly there on the edge. There we go. Let's see if we can identify that particular butterfly for you. I have my butterfly book, and I've been looking forward to using it. And that'll give us an idea. Let's see if we can identify that butterfly for you. You fly away. We've still got him. I can't even see him anymore. Well done, Dave. I see quite a few insects actually swimming around here. Okay, so I've got the one. So here we go. You can come through here. I've figured it out. So the butterflies that are flying around here, busy pollinating this particular knobthorn acacia, are the acreas. And there was this acrea, and the one that we were looking at was this one. So the window acrea and the broad-bordered acrea was the two of the butterflies that we saw busy pollinating this particular flower. The acrea. You might find, let's see if we can see anything else. I don't see any bees, I just see those two butterflies. Let me have a quick look around with my binoculars and see. So we've got the acrea again, right at the top there. Oh yes.
There's one next to me.
Oh, albeit you've just commented on how did I see that butterfly from so far away. I didn't actually, to be quite honest with you. I expected that there was going to be a butterfly on here, or not a butterfly, a pollinator of some sort, and it just caught my eye. That's an acrea, except that there was now another butterfly there. There was also an African monarch on the leaf as well. Or it may have been a dancing acrea. Just judging from the fact that the other two butterflies we saw were both acreas, I'm going to go with a dancing acrea. That looks like the acreas are the ones that are pollinating these flowers. I also see a jewel beetle. So I've got a blue jewel beetle. Let's see what else we can see here. I'm going to see if I can show you that blue jewel beetle. It might be a little bit too much for this camera that we got. So, Dave, there where that butterfly's flying there now?
Yes.
There where it's landed, just above it, the topmost flower has got a dark spot in the middle of it. That's a jewel beetle. Let me see, go. There we go, we're going in. There we go, you can see that there where that butterfly just threw, there we go. That dark spot is a jewel beetle, a blue jewel beetle. And that jewel beetle will be probably sucking the sap from the tree or feeding on the pollen. So we've got jewel beetles, some acreas. I don't see anything else. So butterflies and beetles so far. It's going to be interesting to see what else comes onto these flowers. But anyway, thank you for sharing these flowers with us, you fantastic tree. And on that note, I think it would be good to send you all the way back through to those lions with Brent, who's got an update on what they've been doing.
So I've left the lines. We're going to go back there before the end of drive. I'm just going to go take a quick check around the southern open areas, see if there's a possibility of a cheetah or ostriches, and or maybe I'm hoping to catch up with Gnormless Gnorman the Gnu, my old mate. Oof. Let's have a look. This is also the area Nkuhuma has been spending a lot of time in. Now, good morning to Siberia, one of our Zoomies. Siberia is saying, have I ever heard any folklores or stories of indigenous people using cheetah, lion or leopard for hunting? There is only one that I know of, and it's not you, or I suppose it is, but it's more of a moral. It's a moral folklore, a moral story about the lazy hunter. And it's a Zulu story. The lazy hunter. It was a particularly lazy man. And when he happened upon a female cheetah who had 5 cubs, and she was hunting, and he saw how good she was at hunting, and she left the cubs lying in a thicket like most of the big cats do, and went off to have a drink of water. And the lazy hunter thought to himself, if I catch one of those, I can use it to hunt. So then he got there, he took 1 cub. Then he thought, but if I have 2 cubs, then I don't have to do any hunting. So he took a second, and he thought, but hey, if I have 3, 4, 5, if I have 5 cubs, then I'm sorted for life. So he took all 5 cubs and disappeared. The female cheetah came back, and she started calling and crying, and she cried so much that it darkened and stained her face, and that's why cheetah have those black tear marks going down their eyes. Eventually one of the village elders said, Mother Cheetah, what is the problem? She says, I don't know. Someone has stolen my cubs. And eventually that lazy hunter got caught. The village elders returned the baby, cheetah to mom. And the lazy hunter was expelled to wander the wilderness on his own. That's the only story I've heard of. Generally, in most African cultures, the only domesticated animals, apart from livestock, have been dogs, and dogs are used for hunting throughout Africa. Now, more than likely, dogs domesticated themselves over time, scavenging around people, and people probably didn't chase them away because they developed into an early warning system for bigger predators like lions and stuff being around. The dogs would yap, bark, and notify the people. And that's probably how the domestication of dogs happened. Hi, Virginia. Virginia is in Kentucky, and Virginia would like to know what is the most intelligent animal in the bush and the least intelligent animal. Well, Virginia, that's a difficult question because I suppose a lot of actually what we would consider intellect is actually instinct, but I'd say probably in terms of the capacity of learning, the most intelligent animals in the bush are probably baboons and vervet monkeys, and with hyenas very close in that. Those 3 probably the most intelligent. The most stupid, probably. What do you think's the most stupid, Fem?
Crocodile.
No, crocodile is actually one of the nice. It's one of the only reptiles that has the capacity for learning. And I'd definitely say crocodile is smarter than quite a few other things out there. Snails, yes, snails are probably quite stupid. But I think Virginia is referring to mammals. I'd probably say rhinos. Rhinos are not very clever, neither are hippopotamus for that matter, or wildebeest. Now, Final Control thinks squirrels, but I have evidence to dispute the fact that squirrels are stupid because they still manage to get into my stash of snacks. I've now boarded up the house and they found a gap through the chimney. So I need to find a way to block up the chimney now. Okay, well, Just hoping for a view of some cheetah down here, but all I can see is some zebras. Let's just go a bit further forward. Probably making their way slowly towards the Cheetah Plains pan. Really, really still out here in the open area. Well, let's leave the zebras, and hopefully before the end of show we'll have a chance to go back into those lines. And while we keep searching Cheetah Plains and slowly make our way back towards the Styx Pride, let's go see what Stef's up to.
Welcome back, welcome back. We've come to Mumba Road, and it was round about here that young or that juvenile batelier was flying around. I'm hoping that we get to see some of it. Just looking at all the little bumps and protrusions in any of the trees that we got around. And then I'm also heading down towards the Mulwati, because I did say that I'd like to travel in the Mulwati a little bit today so that we can see if any of the weeping boer beans are flowering in that area. In particular, I'm wanting to go there because, similar to that knobthorn that you were just with, they're starting to flower. I'm hoping that they're starting to flower, and because of the massive nectar load that the weeping boer bean flower produces, it is a hive of activity. They literally, you don't even understand, the bush just moves around them with things. So Raisa, you've just said that weeping boer beans are your favorites, and I must say this time of year weeping boer beans are some of my favorites as well. So I'm glad that we share that in common, and I also hope that we see one today. So we're going to head down now. This road will terminate in the Mulwati, and then we'll pick a direction either upstream or downstream to drive in. I'll see how I feel when I get there, and hopefully with the more nutrients at the river and more water, that would be where I would imagine we'd get a boer bean flowering for the first time. That's on top of some or other termite mound. We had a look at some of them yesterday, maybe one or two that were on top of termite mounds yesterday, and I must be honest, none of them looked like they were even budding yet. But maybe we're lucky. It is going to be something that I spend the next couple of days trying to find before friend James gets back. This place always amazes me. No one really likes driving Mumba Road because it goes over this crest where we have these monkey thorns, or monkey oranges, excuse me, not monkey thorn, where we have this vast thicket of monkey orange. And if you do find anything here, you can never ever get into it because these trees literally rip our cars to pieces. But a lot of activity comes through them. Lots of buffalo enjoy hiding out in them. You find elephant wandering through them. Lots of zebra, steenbok duiker, leopard because of that. I've walked through this particular thicket on a number of occasions, and it's quite extensive. I'd say a good couple of hectares in extent across the top of this creek. One of the largest of the monkey orange thickets that we have on the property is this particular one. And you know, up until I started at Juma, I didn't really ever think about the monkey orange thicket. I mean, I'd seen monkey oranges, of course, but I didn't until I'd started here last year in April realize the extent that these monkey oranges have invaded. I can't really call it an invasive plant. It's not an invasive plant, what it is, it's growing in response to something that's happening on it, and it's either overgrazing or it's compaction that does this. This particular plant does well in an area where other plants do not. So if that makes sense. So monkey oranges do well and propagate well and live well in areas that other plants don't. And generally, when you got a reduction in climax communities of plants, it is because of either compaction, lots of animal traffic, or overgrazing. Also, once again, just lots of animals just overgrazing all the nice plants. Well, I've got some issues going on with my sound here. Let me just check in my pocket. All right, it was probably because I was leaning against it a little bit too much there and it couldn't speak nicely to the receiver. We should be sorted out now. I've now gone back into my usual position. Standard game drive position. All right, so now we are approaching the Mulwati and I'm busy scanning. The flowers of the weeping boerbean are a blood red color. And so what I'm looking for is any bush with a sort of reddish tinge. But Jason, hi Jason, you've asked, do I know anyone that's been poisoned by tambuti smoke and what are the symptoms? I don't actually. Tambuti poisoning is one of those, tambuti smoke poisoning is one of those things that you hear about often, but it always seems to happen to other people. And so I don't know of anyone that has been poisoned by tambuti smoke. I mean, it's obviously real, but I don't know of anyone that's been poisoned by it. And are we going to go this way, Dave? Yeah, let's go this way. And the symptoms are tummy cramps and nausea, with an extreme case of runny tummies and diarrhea being what happens. I think I may have chosen a difficult egress point here. Let's just see. No, nothing that Wendy won't be able to deal with in the blink of an eye. All right, so now the key is just to let Wendy idle through the sand. I mean, to the point where I could get onto the door and have a chat to you like this. Oops, wait, except if my thigh stops the steering wheel from going where it needs to go. It gives me a chance now to scan the bush over here for this weeping boerbean that we're looking at. So yeah, it'll generally just make you sick there, Jason, the tambuti smoke poisoning, tummy cramps, nausea, and diarrhea in extreme cases. I suppose if you were young, you put a baby in the smoke, or you put someone who has some or other type of respiratory problem in smoke. All right, we may have a little bit of signal breakup. We're in a depression here, and quite often our signal can't get out of these low places and get to our signal. So excuse us if we break up, but we'll quickly drive out of those areas. And let's see if Wendy can make this corner without a gentle prod of the accelerator pedal. All right, and while we just get out of this low signal area, and hopefully we don't find a boerbean in here, we're going to send you over to Brent, who doesn't have any of those problems whatsoever.
Well, welcome back. We are on our way back towards the Styx Pride. So we're heading up towards the northern boundary between Cheetah Plains and Nkuhuma, and that's exactly where the kill is, but a little bit closer to 3 in a row pad. Katja. Katja is wondering why the Styx and Nkuhuma seem to specialize in buffalo and not kudu or zebra. Well, Katja, there's a lot of buffalo here, and specifically with this drought, there is... Oh, sorry, Katja. There is a lot of buffalo bulls, and especially with this drought, they are not in great condition, so there's a high reward for the risk that they take on catching those buffalo. And now, especially with cubs, they're going to need to kill more often if they focus on smaller creatures like kudu and zebra. Now with the buffalo, it's a good solid source of meal for a couple of days. And as those cubs get older, they're going to have to produce more and more meat for them. And that also, and that also means, and also as the cubs get older, they're going to be able to also join in the buffalo hunts. I just got to make sure that there's space back with the Styx. So we're going to jump back on with Stef, who's in the Mawati. Hopefully he can succeed where I failed and find you a white-throated robin.
Oh, really? Oopsie, sorry. I've got my microphone unplugged and I didn't know I was live. So, Davey, giving me the heads up there. All right, here we have a weeping boerbean. Let us see if we can spot any flowers. So this is a magnificent example of a boerbean. And let's see if we can get anything here. So what we're looking for is these like grape-like trusses of flowers. And similar to every other boerbean that I've actually seen for the last week or so, since the knobthorns have started flying, not even a bud. I wonder if it's not in response to the drought. They need a certain amount, that they don't have a certain amount of water that they need to have access to before they shoot out their buds, because of the fact that they produce such a lot of nectar. The nectar literally runs down the sides of these trees. It actually stains the bushes. But this particular tree has not even one. I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go and visit that massive boerbean tree on that massive termite mound at the junction with the Chelepan and Weaver's Nest, and see if perhaps a termite colony with access to better water may have different, maybe we can see some buds, but this absolutely has nothing. Brent has just asked me to keep an eye out for you for that white-throated robin that he's been looking for. I absolutely will, Brent. I mean, they are quite difficult birds to find. I know why Brent wants to see one is because they are quite special to see, especially around these areas. So I've got some sunbirds and I have some go-away birds that are around, but nothing much. We will absolutely have a better chance of seeing that white-throated robin when this particular boerbean starts to flower, which will be, doesn't look like any time soon. It's interesting, you know, every single year out here brings with it a different thing. Brings with it a different insect that's a plague. This year it's been flies, and for the last year it's been flies. Other times there'll be these little stink bugs or spiders or you name it. What happens out here is every single year there'll be something or other that gives us a different surprise and has a different epidemic to it, or feel to it at least anyway. It's not really an epidemic, but it just feels like it. There's a brown-hooded kingfisher, and we've got in the branch right there, there you go, over there in the middle. Brown-hooded kingfisher. So unlike the woodland kingfisher, this particular bird, although it has that blue, it's a slightly darker blue on the wing and not as much of it. And then it has a beak that is red at the top and red at the bottom, not red and black like the woodland kingfisher. And then although it has got an eye stripe, it's not that mask that the woodland kingfisher has. Coupled with the fact that this one doesn't migrate away, so this one is sedentary, it's not nomadic, and there he goes. Oh, he's in the sun now. Let's see if we can get him there. And they have a Catholic diet, is how they describe it. This little kingfisher will eat anything, from lizards to snakes, from frogs to tadpoles, mice, all the way through to anything that it can catch and kill, this little bird. And then he flies away. Obviously doesn't want to be filmed too much. Anyway, at least we got to see him, which was quite nice. So these little birds don't go anywhere. Woodland kingfisher we expect back around about November, end of November, beginning of December. Alright, so no luck in the Mulwati in this particular area for weeping boerbean. So Raisa, we're still on the look out for that particular tree, but what I am going to do is see if we can go through to Chelepan before the end of the drive. And while I get there, I'm going to send you back through to some lion cubs which are busy trying to inhale a buffalo.
Well, they're doing a pretty good job. Some of them have already eaten their full and have just passed out, like this little guy here. And the others, there's 2 cubs still feeding and 1 lioness. The rest have spread out. Now at the moment I can only see, there's the male. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cubs and 1 lioness. 2 lioness, sorry, I'm missing 1 lioness. But I'm sure she's sleeping around here close by, or she might have headed towards 3 in a row pan for a drink. Oh, complaining, don't come eat near me. There's some serious attitude amongst these little Styx cubs. Now you can see that little one is there where the male opened up. Oh, she's trying to pull it into the shade. Bit too heavy for her by herself. Now, Justin's wondering, would lions eat till they make themselves sick? Sometimes. Oh, hello. There's that little one with the very tatty ears. Apparently it's been nicknamed Mandlev, which means ears. Oh, look at that. Look how strong she is. Still not quite able to pull it into the shade by herself, or maybe she'll succeed. The little one just hanging on. Bush Mum is wondering why the lions haven't opened up this buffalo fully yet. Well, it's probably because I think they had a kill yesterday, so they're not too hungry. You can see from their bellies. Although these little cubs, you would swear they were starving the way they're behaving. So, oh, look at that. Wow, he's actually quite high. Sorry, I was watching the lions on the kill. And look at that little cub right up a little bush willow tree, just for fun. But this little one with the tatty ears has managed to almost get underneath. Okay, well, we're going to stay with the lions, but Stef would like to bid you adieu, so let's go see him quickly.
That is exactly what I'd like to do. So we've got something to come to this afternoon. We didn't quite get out to that weeping boerbean as quickly as what I thought we were going to. Nevertheless, it leaves something exciting to look for this afternoon. But from myself, Stef, and from Dave, we just want to say thank you very, very much for joining us this morning. All your questions and comments, always such a pleasure. Have a good day wherever you are. See you again at 3 o'clock.
So it's definitely been a lion-filled day. We started off with the 15 lions on Nkuhuma, the 5 Nkuhumas, 8 cubs and 2 Birminghams, and now we're ending with the 8 Styx cubs, 1 Birmingham, and 3 lioness. So what's that total there, yeah? I think that could be a record for one day, a Safari Live record. So we've got 15 with Nkuhumas and Birmingham, so 1 more Birmingham, 16, plus 3 lionesses were 19, and then 8 more cubs, maths is not 27. 27 lions in a drive. Wow, not bad going. Look at that little one, has really just got right in there. I think Gavin is a spot on there. He says the Styx are definitely do not have the privilege of beauty, but these little cubs will be very good scrappers when they grow up. And sometimes that's better than being beautiful, knowing how to hold yourself in a fight. It has been an absolutely splendid sunrise safari. Thanks for joining us. It's been great having you on the back. And as I said, what a lion-filled morning. 27 different lions today. And, well, we're going to have to make some choices for the sunset safari, where to go. Thanks for all the questions and comments. We really do appreciate them. But from all of us here at Safari Live, we're about to leave. So I'm going to keep chatting to you, but let's look at the lions. Look at that little one. He's really got stuck in, whole head inside that buffalo cow's, well, what would be her mouth, where the male has eaten the tongue already. So from the Styx cubs and us, adieu till this afternoon.